Hello and welcome to your next session with Plato Training. For this admin, going to be looking today at laws and regulations that relate to the office environment. Your aims and objectives of today's session are describe the key legislation that relates to an office. So we're going to be looking at lots of different laws and regulations. However, there are others that you could include, and of the ones that I have included, we touched on some brief points of each law. So laws are always very large. If you look up a law online, if you find sort of original of a law from the government website, it's likely to be well over 100 pages. So I have just summarised the key points that I feel are important, but if you've done different points as part of your research on your live session, please don't feel that your answers are incorrect if you've got a reputable UK source. So during the live session this morning, you should have taken part in a research task where you looked at the following laws and regulations. Set at the Health and Safety at Work Act of 1974, RIDDOR, COSH, the Data Protection Act of 1998, GDPR of 2018 and Equality Act of 2010. Now just remember that these laws and regulations are in place in everywhere, not just office-based regulations. Some of you will have heard of some of them from previous employment, perhaps all of them in fact, but for today we're going to look at the context of an office environment. The Health and Safety at Work Act. This is a law to employers and their employees about their health and safety responsibilities in the workplace. So the employers have responsibilities and so these, so I've put a couple of examples of those down. So employers have got to make sure that the workplace is safe and that the staff are trained correctly, whereas the staff themselves need to take care of the working environment because others can be harmed by their actions. So if they're leaving equipment around or if they're not reporting broken equipment, which leads me on to that second point. So with the Health and Safety at Work Act, I'd like you to think about how this relates to customer service delivery in an office, and that will enable you to answer part 2 of this question. And if you did attend that live session, you will have covered this in your teas. So this will lead you on to the first part of this question. Describe how the key legislation and health and safety regulations relate to customer service in the office, which is the question that we're aiming at today. And you're now ready to start part 1, so the Health and Safety at Work Act of 1970, where you're going to describe the key points of the Act and then describe how it relates to working in an office and delivering customer service. Please pause whilst you complete the question. RIDDOR. So RIDDOR stands for Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrences Regulations. Once again, there are responsibilities for both the employer and the employees. So the employer must report any diseases, injuries and dangerous occurrences of themselves, of other employees or visitors to this Health and Safety Executive. Employees have the responsibility to report any injuries, diseases or occurrences to their line manager. So once again, think about how this relates to customer service delivery in an office, which you should have looked at during your live session today. So for your next question, like I say, it's the same we're working on, but so you're going to look at the key points, describe the key points of RIDDOR for part A, and for part B, you're going to describe how RIDDOR relates working in an office and delivering customer service. Please pause this video whilst you complete the question. COSH. So COSH stands for Control of Substances that are Hazardous to Health. One are employer and employee responsibilities. So the employer responsibilities include providing staff with training of storage of substances, and completing risk assessments to assess the dangers of those substances. Over to the staff, the employees comply with COSH by following their training and following the risk assessments that the employer has put in place. Question: you should have covered this in the live session, but for the second part of it you need to think about how this relates to customer service delivery in an office. So for the COSH part of your question, you're going to describe the key parts of COSH, and then you're going to describe how COSH relates to working in an office when you are delivering customer service. Please pause this video whilst you complete the question. Data Protection Act 1998. So this is a law that protects our personal. The employer has responsibilities to provide training to their staff, whether it be handling the data, mailing data, or shredding the data. Employers are also responsible for ensuring that staff are compliant with the regulations in their data, and the employees are responsible for complying with those regulations by following their training. So once again, how this relates to customer service delivery in an office to answer part 2 of the question, which you should have covered in your live activities. So you can now answer the part about Data Protection Act 1998. So describe the key points of the Data Protection Act. Part B, describe how Data Protection Act relates to working in an office and delivering customer service. Please pause the video and complete those questions. GDPR 2018. So GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulations. So again, there are employer and employee responsibilities. So here, these include to report any data breaches, whether that is accidental or unlawful, to ensure that data is not kept better than necessary, and to ensure that the staff are compliant with their responsibilities, including safeguarding data on portable devices away from us. So if we think about that in terms of COVID-19, there are lots of people working from home at the moment, so employers, managers will be responsible for making sure that it is safeguarding their working laptops in their home environments. The employees have a responsibility to comply with storage and safeguarding of personal data when it's on portable devices like laptops, as I just said, like with home working. And they've also got to comply with our regulations and follow the training. Think about how this relates to customer service in an office for part 2 of the question. And that leads you on to the next couple of questions. Describe the key points of GDPR 2018 and how GDPR 2018 relates to working in an office and delivering customer service. Equality Act of 2010. So the Equality Act is a law that protects people from discrimination. There are 9 protected characteristics that the law is set out from discrimination. Employers have responsibilities such as having a policy in place for equal opportunities within the business. So employers are not allowed to discriminate staff, colleagues or their customers for who they are. And then we've got to ensure equal pay regardless of gender. Whereas with the employees have got to comply with the Equality Act regulation following the training policy that's in place, and to ensure that they do not discriminate or put people at a disadvantage based on the difference that they may have. Have a look up of those 9 protected characteristics. That will give you an idea of the differences that people may have, such as disability, etc. Think about how this relates to customer service delivery in an office to answer part 2 of the question. And that leads you on to the question. So describe the key points of the Equality Act 2010 and describe how the Equality Act relates to working in an office and delivering a service. If you were wondering to relate back to service, or perhaps you would like some more ideas, I have put together a slide here just to help you out. So don't copy, make sure you put in your own words. These are just suggestions and ideas from me. These aren't by any means the right answers. They're just ideas to share with those who perhaps missed the live session or didn't make notes or partake as such. So the Health and Safety at Work Act of 1974, so this is in place, and the idea of it is to protect staff and customers. So the customer service delivery is better because the workplace is, so people are able to go in, get what they need from that, buy that product, get that service, and then leave without coming to any harm. RIDDOR, so if a serious injury or dangerous occurrence is reported, the Health and Safety will investigate the place, and then risk assessments are put in place to minimise the same incident happening again, so the customers are much safer. So do remember, this is in terms of a serious injury or dangerous occurrence or disease. It's not to do with sort of cuts and grazes and things like that. It's to do with people sort of losing their arm, breaking their leg, dying in the workplace as well is covered. COSH. So there'll be no chemicals in the office that could cause incident or injury to the customers. If there are chemicals in the office that could cause injury, they're going to be out of the way so that they're not going to harm anybody who is coming in as a visitor. The Data Protection Act, customer data is safeguarded, so they'll have trust in the company. The same with GDPR 2018, the data is safeguarded, which impacts on trust. And lastly, the Equality Act of 2010, so customers will not be discriminated against. They won't be treated differently or given any lesses because of differences that they may have. And remember, that covers things like race, gender, religion, disability, etc. Here's some information regarding your activity log and what you could write today. So today's date, your aim is customer service. Your activities were law and regulations in an office, and today you have your next session. We're going to be looking at equality and diversity, and that is tomorrow. Thank you for watching this video. So that now covers your aims and objectives of today's session, which was to describe the key legislation that to